So, been to places like Sao Paulo, Brazil, and Beata, Mozambique, and Nairobi, Kenya. Like really poor places. Mozambique is the 18th poorest country in the world. I was in Kenya a year and a half ago. I went to see a guy who runs a foster program for AIDS orphans. Now, most Americans don't really grasp this. Every day in Africa, 6,000 people die of AIDS. Every day. So imagine, not 2 World Trade Center towers, but 4 going down every day. And not in a blaze of media glory, but in silence. And many of these people leave behind children. George took me around, showed me all these AIDS orphans that he's helping. I met a 7-year-old boy. Now, I had a 7-year-old, right? Okay, I got a 7-year-old boy at home. This is a 7-year-old boy. Dying of AIDS for lack of a $1 bus ticket to get a free shot. If you took all the parties and all the successes and all the humor and all the comedy shows, you put them over here, and you took all the suffering and all the agony and all that other stuff, there's no comparison. Is there? And I think it's only fair for us to ask, why does God let it go on? Don't we all wonder? You know, I don't think that you can it would not be possible for me to write on this piece of paper here, why is there evil and suffering in the world? A, B, C, D. The correct answer is C. And if you had an answer like that, would it make you any happier? Well, I don't think God gives us an answer, but He tells us a story. And the story goes like this. A certain Jewish rabbi threatens the Jewish Gestapo. He threatens their cushy jobs and their clout and their political power. And he asks them very hard, penetrating questions that they don't really want to answer. And they decide, we're going to get rid of this guy. And they manage to sort of hijack the local justice system to the point where he gets turned over to the Romans and given the cruelest punishment, the cruelest torture ever devised in the history of man. And I don't think I have to tell any of you how awful a crucifixion is. It's awful. Well, Jesus gets nailed to a cross, and he's between 2 criminals. And there's a conversation that takes place. And I want you to listen closely to this conversation. One of the criminals hanging beside him scoffed, "So you're the Messiah, are you? Prove it by saving yourself, and us too, while you're at it." But the other criminal protested. Now, actually, a different book says that he initially was going along with the first guy, but then he came to his senses. And he says the other criminal protested, "Don't you fear God even when you are dying? We deserve to die for our evil deeds, but this man hasn't done anything wrong." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus replied, "I assure you, today you will be with me in paradise." Now, stop the camera. What you have there is a picture of the entire world right there in that little conversation. Because people are going to either do one of two things. They're either going to blame God for all their problems and be mad at God for not bailing them out, even though we create most of our own problems ourselves. People either blame God for all their problems and vomit all over Him and get mad at Him. Or we say, "You know what? I got myself into this mess. And God came down and lived in this mess with us and experienced this mess with us and suffered with us, even though He was innocent. Just like those AIDS orphans are innocent, Jesus suffered with us." And we can accept that as His gift to us and ask Him for mercy, which He gladly gives. Which way do you want it? You get to decide. Again, I don't think that we are going to get an answer written on a chalkboard like, okay, here's why there's evil and suffering in the world. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can discuss about that, and they're all interesting. But really, what it comes down to is, I don't know, but I know that God was not so distant or so great or so removed from us that He would not come down and experience what we experience. And you know what this does? This makes Jesus the brother of everybody who's ever suffered, everybody who's ever endured injustice, everybody who's died of AIDS even though they didn't do anything. Jesus becomes that person's brother and companion. And it means that God understands where we are at. So I want to leave you with that thought. We're going to take a break, get yourself some coffee or cookies or whatever, and then we'll come back in 15 minutes and have some Q&A. All right?